One of the services that's provided by strategic communications companies is to do media training. And that's a great thing for companies to think about doing. It helps keep you on message, provides training for your spokespeople, provides refreshers for those people who've been through media training in the past, and really helps clarify and rally an organization around a series of messages to help them stay focused. Because during a television interview, it's typically one of the more challenging times to deliver those messages because you have a camera on you, and people are automatically more uncomfortable when there's a camera on them, and when they think millions of people might be watching. But today we're not going to really focus so much on the message development side of media training, but on all the other stuff that comes up with that stressful time of doing television interviews. Because we often get asked questions around this, so that's what we're going to focus on today. Because one of the things you're going to want to think about when you do a television interview or when 60 Minutes shows up at your doorstep is, oh my gosh, what am I wearing? How's that going to come across? So ladies in particular, if you have jangly bracelets on, these are going to have to go. Because there's a microphone that's going to be inches away from where you're talking, and this will be distracting to the television camera. So then think about what else you have. Is there anything else that might not come across too well on a television camera? Well, if you've got a necklace that has a lot of jangly things on it too, that could also be a problem. So you want to get rid of this. In general, noisemakers are kind of bad. For gentlemen, if you have suit coat or pockets in your pants that have coins or keys in them, oftentimes if you're nervous, your hands will go in your pocket. It gives them something to do. Well, often if you're nervous, they will jingle those things that are in there. And the microphone, again, will pick up on all that extra noise, and you want to make sure you empty your pockets. I want to get rid of that. And the earrings. These aren't going to work too well. You don't want the camera to be focusing on what's going on next to your head. You want the camera to be focusing on your audience on what your messages are. And so you want to get rid of the earrings too. Brings me to the jacket. While this might be cute over a black dress for a cocktail party or for a wedding reception or something, probably not so great on the evening news. So you want to make sure that you choose something that's simple, plain color, maybe a very tiny stripe, pinstripe or something would be good. Something like this is not going to show up so well on camera. As you've probably been wondering, why is she wearing that on camera? So that's some of the other things you want to think about. There's also some conversations that go on about what you should wear, and a telephone is not something you should wear during an interview. A lot of us have these attached to our hips now, and we use them almost as additional appendages. So make sure it's not even on silent, make sure it's in another room, and make sure it's not anywhere near your interview. One of the other conversations that takes place is, do you wear white on camera? Because for a long time there was the white myth, and you shouldn't wear white on camera because of the high contrast or because of the phasing that would go on with video cameras. But for those of us who are brunettes or dark hair, the contrast between our dark hair and our white shirt tends to not show up so well. So you might look and see if there's somebody else in your office that has a jacket that you could throw on over, or a wrap or a sweater or something to just help neutralize that and balance out that white a little bit could be helpful to you. One of the other questions we often get asked is, well, Kelly, what do I do with my hands? So I want you to imagine that there's a box, and that box requires your hands to be in it during the whole interview. Because oftentimes if people are talking about an event that's happening over here and they're staging that, but they've also got some other activities going over here, you end up looking like a marionette as you're talking about these things because your hands are off camera. So you want to talk about what's going on in this area. You could also talk about what's going off to your right and communicate that way by keeping your hands in this nice, neat little box. It helps you enumerate points, it helps you make lists, it helps you stay organized, and helps you deliver those key branded messages that are what you really want your audience to focus on. The last thing I'll tell you is, oftentimes people say, well, what do I do about standing? Because they'll tend to shift their weight back and forth if they're nervous. And then the audience tends to be distracted because you become this pendulum going back and forth across the camera, and where is she going to go next? So for those of you that study dance, you know fifth position puts your feet in this position. And what that does is it provides stability and balance and a little bit more gravity to how you stand physically, and that can also help keep you straight and centered on the camera. You'll also notice that if you ever watch pageants, that's how pageant contestants will stand as well. It keeps them, again, focused, keeps their hips centered toward the camera, and that's where they want to be. I hope these tips have been helpful to you. Again, media training is all about the message, but there's that other component that comes into play when there are cameras involved.